Just setting up live. Mute. Let me see. Mute. 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 Okay. Found the mute. Okay. Took me an hour to find it. Dear me. And we're talking about professionalism. Not professional at all, bro.
Mhm.
Not, not professional at all. So recording. So where's the recording button? Recording to this computer. Right. Okay. Finally. Bro, do you want to do the open introduction for us, please?
Yes, indeed. Well, welcome along at last to our this week's podcast called The Alien Spaceship, where we discuss all sorts of things. Hopefully, you'll find some of it of interest. I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me Bruv.
And I am Emmy Hickens, and he calls me Cuz. And
Yeah,
we got
joining today is Jerome from Birmingham.
yeah. So we
Nice.
got Jerome all the way from Birmingham, and we're live. Right. So, bro, paradoxes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see if we can touch on three things really: paradoxes, free will, truth. So we'll see how far we get with it. But
Right.
we've looked at a few paradoxes before because some of them maybe can't really be true. They can't exist. So if I say to you this statement, everything I say is a lie. Now, can you do you think that's a logical thing to say? And tell me what you think, cuz. Incidentally, I can't really see you. I've only got your sign-in stuff for what we were doing before, but I guess that doesn't matter.
All right. Hang on a minute. Oh, I need to stop the share.
That- That's probably being shared live as well.
Oh dear me. So stop sharing. Let's see that. Let's see that. No, it's not sharing actually, so I'm surprised. Yeah, it's not. Can you see me, Jerome?
Yeah, I can see both of you.
Yeah.
And I can see you at the very top. You're half hidden, but my main screen is sign into VK, we were
All
doing
right.
before. I mean, if we can't change it, don't worry. But
All right, hang on. Hang on. So let me close that. Oh yeah. Sign into VK. All right. So let me see. Let me see how I can do that. Okay. So
it's
let's
going
close.
well, isn't
Strange, isn't it?
it?
Now, if I quit Safari, that's strange that you can see sign into VK. What can you see
Oh,
now?
oh, oh, well, yeah, we got something else to do with it.
Okay, that's strange. Because we're not even, it's not even showing, hang on, uh, exit full window. What about now? Can you still see sign in VK?
It's a different page, but it's still down. It's still to do with what we were looking at before.
Wow, that's strange. Okay.
I wouldn't
Um,
worry. We may just have
it's
to leave it.
it's strange that, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll just carry on. Let's see if
Carry on. Okay, well, let's just carry on then, and I'll come back to the question I asked you both.
right.
Does this sentence make sense? Is it a possible sentence that does make sense? Everything I say is a lie. Can that be true? We're talking about truth as well here. Can that statement be true? Everything I say is a lie.
Um, I think it's true. I believe everything you say is a lie. So there we go.
Now, are you taking this question seriously, though, Cuz? Um,
Okay.
everything I
Okay.
say is a lie. Now,
Oh,
the point. What about you,
yeah.
Jerome? Do you think
Um,
that sentence does that sentence make sense?
for me it doesn't because
It does.
it
Yeah.
doesn't for me it doesn't because there's no way you would have come to someone oh, good morning, cuz, and it's definitely morning. Hmm? So not everything. There's no way everything you would have said would be a lie.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So
No, that's fair comment. That's true. But the other thing about it is, if, how can I say this? If everything I say is a lie, if that statement is true,
Yeah.
mm,
then then obviously it contradicts itself because the statement says everything I say is a
you say
lie.
it's a lie. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if that statement is not true, in other words, everything I say is a lie is not true,
Yeah.
then it also contradicts the statement. So it's one of those paradoxes which basically, if it's true, it's false. And if it's false, it's true. So it just doesn't work. Now, there's another, a very quite a well-known paradox called the crocodile paradox, and I'd be interested in your views on this. Now, there's a crocodile at the zoo, and there's a lady with her little boy. Now, sadly, the crocodile manages to grab the little boy, and he has this little boy sort of in its jaws. But it's a clever crocodile because it can talk, and he sees the alarm on the lady's face, on the mother's face. So he says, "Look, if you tell me correctly whether I'm going to keep the boy and possibly eat him, or give him back to you, then I will return the boy." Okay, so he's given her two options to choose. Either the crocodile will keep and eat the little boy, or he'll
Right.
return the boy to the mother. Now, what she thinks is, well, what can I say here? Well, she decides after thinking about it, she'll say, I think you'll keep the boy, you'll keep and eat him. Terrible thing for her to have to say. Now, that gives the crocodile a dilemma, and this is where the paradox comes in. So the mother has said, I think you're going to keep and eat my little boy. So the crocodile thinks, well, if I actually do keep the little boy and eat him, then the mother is right. And I said I would give him back if she was right. So he said that obviously something that wouldn't work. He said, but if I do actually give the little boy back,
Mm.
then the mother was wrong in her choice of what I would do. And if she was wrong, I was going to eat him. Can you see the paradox that's there? By giving her those choices,
Options.
created for himself, the crocodile, an impossible situation. And there's quite a lot of these sort of paradoxes of words or little stories like that. And they
Mm.
kind of deal with truth, untruth, and so on. I mean, you could say something somebody might say is the word impossible is not in my vocabulary. Well, clearly it is, isn't it? Because I've used it in a sentence. The only rule is that there are no rules. Well, again, that's a bit of a contradiction because that fact is that there's a rule which says there's no rules. So
Mm.
this kind of leads us a little bit into truth, what ultimately is truth. Now, we all know these days that people seem to say, this is my truth. A lot of famous people say that, don't they? This is
Yeah.
my truth. So, Cuz, you first of all, what do you think people mean when they talk about my truth?
I think they're just saying, um, I think what they're saying is, this is what I believe. Um,
Yeah.
so they're not really saying this is my truth, like they own the truth. I don't know, it's confusing. Have I managed to confuse myself now?
You've confused me because you've now put a situation where I don't know whether this is going out live on the screen, but there's about six of me like going up a staircase, and you're at the top. Anyway, that's beside the point. But yeah, you have confused yourself, and I think you've confused me. So what exactly do you mean then? When people say this is my truth, you just simply say that's how I feel about something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, this is how I feel about this is my take on it. Let's put it that way.
Right. Okay. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
What about you, Jerome? What do you think?
I think they're just trying to say their side of the story, of the event or whatever that has taken place.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
why that's the way I see it. My
Yeah.
someone trying to say Easter is just trying to say his side of the story, because there are several sides to a story. Yeah. So
Right.
if there are two or more people involved in an incident or an issue, each of them have to say their side of the story. So I'm
Okay.
thinking saying the truth is saying your side of the story. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to put it. I think it recognizes this idea of my truth. It may not be worldly truth or universal truth, but it's my truth as I see the world.
Yeah.
It recognizes how actually all of us live in our own minds. The world is always it can only be from our perspective, because our existence, everything we perceive and feel, is from within our own minds. And actually, sometimes that can be slightly stressful to think everything's going on in our heads and we just interpret things we see around us. Um, but yeah, we know how to react to things, and as I say, my truth acknowledges that this is how I see the world, and maybe sometimes we need that. We can be a bit vulnerable, so we can be a bit therapeutic by talking about my truth. And it kind of leads us into my next subject, really, which is related to this, and that is free will. Now, we have touched on this a few times before, free will. Now, I'll ask you the straight question, both of you, first of all. Cuz, you first. Do you think we as humans actually have free will?
Yes, I do. I do think we do have free will. Um, yeah, that would it's we do have free will, but it is then limited by the laws of nature, I think.
What, what does that mean?
Well, it's your free will. If you have free will, your free will is limited by the laws of gravity. There's over all these other laws that would ordinarily limit what you can do. For instance, you can't fly off a mountain, for instance, and expect to land on your feet. The feet might be
No, of
shot.
course.
Yeah.
Of course,
So
yeah,
although
but
you've
I
got
mean,
yeah, go on.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Carry on, but just to say, when I say free will, I mean within the realms of possibility. Things that can be done. I agree. Anything that's outside of possibility because of uh, nature or facts of life, then of
Yeah,
course we can't just suddenly decide to fly off somewhere ourselves.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm talking about within the bounds of what is possible. Do you think
yeah.
humans actually have free will to make choices to do just what we want to do without any second thought, really? Is that what you're saying you believe?
Yeah, I do believe we have the free will to do whatever we want to do. Without second thought actually, because some actions are voluntary, aren't they? But yeah. Am I making sense?
Jerome, Jerome, what do you think, Jerome? Do we have free will?
On the contrary, though I've had the saying there's free will, but on the contrary, I think hmm, it's according to him, it's a bit limited, or should I say, there are certain things even if you want to do, yeah, there's you have to consider the law of the land
Yeah.
and put other things into consideration. So by so doing, would I say it's free? Can I count that as free will? No, because you have to put other things into consideration before you do it. You've got a right to speak, yeah, but it is, don't forget there's libel, slander, and sedition. If I'm not wrong, they say as we've got right of speech, but there's limitation. So I wouldn't say we got free will.
At all? Would you?
That's my take.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. So, would you say we don't really have any free will as people, as humans?
Ooh, we've got right to live, right to breathe. Yeah, we. Now, am I confusing myself at the same time? It's how do I put this? I think we do, but I think I would just say it's limited.
Right.
Let me just put it that way, so I don't get confused in the process of trying to explain or go further down.
Yeah.
No,
Okay. Okay. I
no.
think that's a good way to put it. You think it's limited. Yeah. What I think we're talking about is do we really have, in practical terms, not necessarily theoretical terms, because theoretically, I could go out, get in my car, and say, I think I'll drive on the wrong side of the road today, just for the hell of it, or all sorts of things that we could theoretically do. But what I'm suggesting is that, in fact, what so impacts our own sense of free will is so many things. Go right back to our childhood, where and when we were born, the environments we were in, our upbringing, the sort of family we had, the forces of influence upon us as we've developed as a human being. Now, the question I was going to ask at this point, so I will ask it. I'll start with you, Cuz. Do you think anybody is capable of anything? Whether it's good or bad. Do you think, if you feel we have free will, which you do, does that mean that do you feel you are capable of doing anything, good or bad? Because that's kind of the definition of free will. You can do exactly what you want to do.
Uh, Good or bad? Yes, I think that would be the answer. Yes, you can do whatever you want to do. You are capable of doing whatever you want to do,
Whether it's good or bad. And this is
whether
this
it's
is
good or
where
bad,
I
yeah.
have to say I would disagree with that, because most people, I guess, in society, we're all different. Everyone is unique. I mean, that's another almost paradoxical statement. Everyone is unique, just like everyone else, which sort of
Hmm.
contradicts itself. But we are all unique. Um, but it's fair to say, I think, that a majority of humans, a majority of people, would never would never go out and mug somebody, would never go and steal their phone, or worse, would never go and murder somebody. Now, I think under what you're saying, well, I have got the free will to do that. I have got the free will to go and, I don't know, take some stuff from a shop and not pay, do some shoplifting. I've got the free will to do that. And theoretically, I think you're right. You have. We all have. But in practical terms, and if I know you at all, that will be the last thing you or Jerome or I would ever do. It's not within our constitution, it's not within our makeup to actually go out and try and harm somebody else, or to steal something. We wouldn't drive to a petrol station, fill up our car and drive off, although apparently that's something that is happening more and more in these economic times and the war that's going on, which is not to be justified, but that's one exception perhaps where people may step outside of their upbringing, their environment, all the things that they were taught of right and wrong, because maybe sometimes desperation can creep in and force somebody into a situation where they would do something that they would never otherwise do. I mean, an extreme, perhaps, example of that would be if a mother or father can't feed their children, they may well go out and steal some food, with, because to them, with justification, because otherwise they can't provide for their kids. So desperation can impact on an otherwise sense of right and wrong that impacts all of us. But to stick with that right and wrong, we couldn't go out. Even if we could, in practice, we would not go out and endanger people with our car. We wouldn't drive at 80 miles an hour around a local town, for example. So can you see what I'm saying, Cuz? On your point, you think we have got free will. In fact, just actually ask yourself, do you really have free will to do anything you want? Could you really go and do anything? Because if in fact you wouldn't, if you would never ever do that, no matter what the circumstances, then you don't have the free will to do that. Do you not see that?
No, I don't actually. This is now I thought I was confused, but now I think I get it now. So we have free will, right? Sometimes your mind could be corrupted, right? Maybe under the influence of a substance, a liquid, whatever, it could corrupt your mind. And then what happens to that free will that you're talking about? It goes out the window, don't it? Because you can then literally do whatever you want. Under the influence of drink driving, people that would normally not drive a car recklessly would. And that's a free will. You chose to have that drink. You've chose to get behind that car and you've chose to drive it. That's free will. Because without the drink, otherwise you would have been able to, you're a good driver. But under the influence of a drink or alcohol, you are not a good driver, but you still have that free will. You could choose to have left that car at home whilst
Yeah.
you know your intentions. You know what, I'm going out and I'm going to have a good time. You could leave the car at home. Or you choose not to leave the car at home. That's free will. So yes, we do have free will. How we choose to use our free will is entirely up to us.
Yeah, I mean, what you've described there is,
Mm,
shall we say, mental incapacitation, because most scientists agree, most neuroscientists agree that if we have free will at all, it is to a pretty limited extent because of the
right.
factors we talked about. In other words, people's environment, their upbringing, and most things we would never do, certainly bad things, because that's not within our constitution to do that. But one of the exceptions I've said is desperation. If you were really put in an impossible situation in life where it's life or death for you or your family, then people can go outside of what they may know is right or wrong in desperation. Another one is mental incapacity, either a mental illness or drugs, perhaps illegal drugs or alcohol. Then, yeah, people who get drunk are capable of doing stuff they would never do in
Mm,
ordinary circumstances. You read this sometimes on an aeroplane that somebody has gone berserk, they've been drunk and threatening passengers and crew and everything else. And they usually
mm,
get, excuse me, they usually get punished quite severely by the courts. Because
mm.
often they say, "Well, I can't remember any of it. It's all hazy. I did have some drink, and so on." So yeah, that's an exception to the rule of
Right.
of uh, of free will, but it does remain the fact that whether we like it or not. I mean, just to look at some of this that scientists say, whether humans have free will is a deeply contested, unresolved debate across philosophy, science, and theology. Many argue it's an illusion driven by deterministic biological environmental factors, which is what we've said, while
Mm,
others argue for compatibilism, that rational agency exists despite deterministic forces. And
mm,
another exception people try and say is, well, the brain is such a complicated, incredible organ beyond anything we could ever describe, that in itself makes us potentially unpredictable. And if we're unpredictable, then in a sense that's where free will can really manifest itself. So there's a lot of contention on this. Now, in fact, if we look at what someone like Einstein says,
mm,
Einstein, and this links into to IQ and intelligence, really, I suppose, um, as to do with the brain. He was a
mm,
staunch determinist who believed that free will is an illusion. He argued that human actions are dictated by prior causes, such as
mm,
nature, nurture, and the laws of physics, meaning we cannot control our desires or actions, but merely act on them. And
mm,
there's also a case where experiments have shown quite categorically that, and specific experiments allowing for the time lapse, that where we're asked to make a decision on something, a picture we see or whatever, It turns out the brain has already made our choice before we're conscious of that choice. And there's many experiments which scientists have done to prove this point, that our brain is such an incredible thing. It's managing all of our systems. It's something we can't describe. It's brilliance. But actually, it makes probably neuroscientists believe 95% of the decisions which we make. And if you think about it, that is almost obvious. And I stick with this because it is related. We get up in the mornings. Now, we all have different lives. We have different things to do. Some will
Yeah.
get up, they're going to go to work, but first they'll have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Now, they may say to themselves, do I want tea or coffee? I suspect most of us, we go through the motions. We're simply spending the first thing in the morning on autopilot, as we do much of the day. So we have our coffee or tea, we have our cereal, perhaps some toast, and we're not really consciously making decisions because probably we've made those decisions 1,000 times, and that's just what we do. It's autopilot. We then go out, we may be going to work, we may not be, but whatever we do, we may get in the car. It's all autopilot. And so it goes on through the day. Now, how many times during the day will we make decisions? Well, we will make decisions. Do I cross the road at this point or not? Do I turn left at this junction? Is that quicker because there's traffic up ahead? We're making micro decisions, really, but the brain itself is probably leading us on. Now, my next question then on this free will, if you think we have free will,
Yeah.
do you have free will as to what your next thought will be? Can you control your thoughts? What thoughts you're going to have in your next thought, especially if you're not okay. If you're focusing on something specific, then as we do, we're reading a book or we're looking at a particular subject, then that's going to kind of lead one thought into the next. Well, I might do this, might do that. But when we're just sitting there, perhaps not really thinking about much, you might be sitting having a drink by looking out to the sea if you're by the seaside or whatever, just not really thinking anything. Can you control what thoughts will come into your head? Or are they planted there? Where do they come from? So have we got the free will to control our thoughts, our thinking?
That's a very good question. I'll let Jerome go first.
You
It's a hard
trying to rope
question.
me, yeah?
Yeah, Jerome, yeah.
Okay. Can you just rephrase again? Just the question.
Yeah, okay. We're talking about our thoughts, right? We
Yeah.
said already we kind of live in our heads, don't we? Everything we see about the world is in our heads, and we have a unique vantage point. No two humans are the same.
Yeah.
So we live and we know that we live there, and we constantly have thoughts. We don't really have a much of a period during any given day, especially if we're not at work
So
or
you
not
wanted to be
doing
sure
anything.
if we can control our thoughts, right?
Control, but can we actually predict? Have we got the free will to say what our next thought will
Thought
be? Or does that just come to us and we have to deal with it as it comes?
okay. That's
It's hard, isn't it?
that's it is to some extent, yeah. You can't control what comes from within, yeah. But at the same time, take taking the action before you take the action, you can decide not to go with the thought. Okay, let me just a weird example, yeah. Just wake up in the morning. Oh, you don't have milk at home, no job, nothing. Oh, I could go to the store, nick one. You understand? Yeah, that fulfills the desire. But at the same time, you could wake up. Why would I go shoplift? That's not part of me. Then you control
Absolutely.
that thought. You understand?
Mm.
So that's what I can say. You can't really um determine what would come to your mind at certain points because you might be in a depends on the mood. You might be angry, and at that point, lots of stuff will come to mind. You can't really control them. but the action you take, you can control.
Mm.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think what you've said there absolutely tallies with what a lot of eminent scientists do say, and it's quite an interesting point because one very important part of living in a society has to have rules, regulations, because otherwise, if people are allowed to do just what they want, crime-wise or in any otherwise, a society couldn't possibly function. So the question that can sometimes come up about free will, if we don't actually have much by way of free will, then how can we hold responsible or accountable in society people who commit crimes and eventually they go to prison? How, if we don't have control over what we do, what we are, but it just happens, then how do we do that? Um,
Okay.
and this is really the point that, and a lot of neuroscientists, doctors, etc., the view is that, in a way, people who have got the capacity to do bad things more than the average, if you like, they've got more free will than the majority because, as you rightly say, when they got a notion of doing something that they know they shouldn't do, and let's take out things like desperation or whatever, but they know they shouldn't do it, it's a criminal act, they actually do have the option of saying, no, I'm not going to do that. So they're making a free will choice.
Yeah.
Whereas, as I've said before, and as Einstein said, really, most of us don't have that freedom to do those things we would never normally do. So, yeah, I think you've hit on a very good point there that, free will is something that is very hard to define whether we really have it or not. It's interesting because, as I say, Einstein had very strong views on this. And as a bit of an aside, we all have heard of Marilyn Monroe, haven't we? And it said, the question was, what did Marilyn Monroe say about Einstein? The famous anecdote claims Marilyn Monroe said to Einstein, would it not be wonderful if we had a child with your brains and my beauty? That's what she said to Einstein. Einstein is said to have wittily replied, yes, but imagine a child with my beauty and your brains. It was obviously quite humorous. An anecdote may or may not be true. Interestingly, something people probably don't know is that Marilyn Monroe had, they reckon, an IQ, intelligence quotient, of 160, which is the same as Einstein. She was actually a very, very intelligent woman, and she has quite a history. There have been films written about her and so on. But yeah, they were around together. They were both icons around at the same time, Marilyn Monroe and Albert Einstein. He once said, "I'm a determinist." He famously stated, "I do not believe in free will, um, but I believe in free won't," which I thought was quite an interesting aside. Another aside here, I don't want to go off tangent too much because we're leading up to what I said before about how accountable are people in society for the things they do. Society has to have rules and can punish people, put them in prison, take their liberty away for bad things. But if ultimately people are not fully accountable, then you've got a problem. But on this subject of it's good to get to see what highly intelligent people have said about this. And this is one such woman. Do you know? You probably don't know, but who is the most intelligent woman ever? In fact, do you know who had the highest recorded intelligence quotient ever? It's a woman. You probably won't know her. Funnily enough, she's another Marilyn, not Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn von Savant. She was born in 1946. I think she's now 78 or 79.
Okay.
She's recognized for having the highest recorded intelligence in the Guinness Book of Records. And she had a score, which was actually, she went through a test of 228. It was listed in 1985 based on tests taken as a child, and she earned the title of the smartest person in the world. She's a writer known for her Ask Marilyn column and her correct analysis of the complex Monty Hall problems. Now, by the age of 10, she'd read the entire American encyclopedic range. She had a recorded IQ of 228, age 10, and she's still alive. Now, the Guinness Book of Records discontinued this particular record in the 90s because mostly people were not formally recorded by a test, which this lady was. Even Einstein wasn't, and most others were not. Apparently, the Monty Hall controversy in 1990, Marilyn solved the Monty Hall problem. I don't know what that is, a famous probability puzzle. Her correct answer led to 10,000 letters, including many from PhDs arguing against her, yet she was proved right. And she, in the Guinness Book of Records, recorded the highest IQ category. So it just shows you that even there, guys, women come out on top, which so often is we assume is not the case. But yeah, so that's that. So I think we're going to be running short of time. But what I want to come on to is people who are punished in society, many with very good reason, we know that. Do we believe that prisoners should receive education? Jerome,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Oh, go on to Jerome, please.
Okay. Education. I rather put it as reorientation. Because yeah, because as you said earlier, right? We all come from different backgrounds, and the lifestyle, the people we grew up with, we've all got different orientation. So for some, they just think, oh, that's life. That's how it's been. That's the way they know it. You understand? So they just do it that way. So some of them need reorientation. If you say education, most people will tell you education is limited. In the four walls of the higher institution, it's kind of limited. They don't really teach you everything about life per se. But if you give them some sort of reorientation, let's say they've come from a different background, they don't know about how life is in this part of the world, you give them reorientation, which is a form of education anyway, but you
Mm.
get, I would put it reorientation rather than education. I'll put it that way.
Sort of rehabilitation in a sense, I
Rehabilitation,
guess.
reorientation,
Yeah,
changing their mindset.
yeah,
Yes, I think that would do work more than just putting them in the class. This is A, that's B. They could still argue and this, but if you reorientate them,
yeah.
change their mindset, I think that would work better.
Absolutely, because really, for many of these people who lose their liberty, it's a revolving door, isn't it? They go into prison, they don't really get much rehabilitation very often, and when they come out to having no job. They have no CV, often no home. They may experience homelessness, and in a way, they then figure that it's better to go back into prison to get food and
And
at
the thing
least
is,
be
and
kept,
now
you know.
the system tags them ex-convict. They don't get jobs, so
Mm,
some of them end up going back to what they know how to do best because they've not been
absolutely,
reorientated.
yeah,
If
yeah,
someone gets a reorientation and he knows what he or she has done is bad,
mm,
and that's why he's been punished,
yeah.
even if he goes out and there's no job, he knows that is bad, like capital bad, and might keep away from it or try to look for other source of livelihood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Cuz? What do you think? Should
Well,
prisoners have education?
I think absolutely everybody should be educated. But like Jerome said, it's got to be targeted education, targeted towards rehabilitation or reorientation, as he's put it. But it's still education. You have to educate them. whether they're reminders of what they should be doing or whatever. But yeah, I think absolutely you cannot survive without education. Everybody has to be educated, even if it's just the basic things. Because there's something called life skills.
Yeah.
Um, and these just prepare you for, what you're going to meet in life. So you have people that go into the military at a very young age, and they come back and they have to be reintegrated into the civilian life, as they call it, because all they know is they've been trained in an act of war. And that's what they know. So you see them wanting to settle conflicts with by fist or arguments or something because that's what they know. So they
Mm.
then need to be rehabilitated into the normal lifestyle. This is not how we do things. This is how you do things when you're at war, but here we want peace.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes time. So it's a different kind of education, in my opinion, anyway.
So are you saying the military guys are not educated before going into the military?
Well, they're educated in a different way, aren't they? It's like it's like you get a new job, you have what they call on-the-job training. So they don't train you how to make a cup of tea or how to deal with your wife when she upsets you at home. They train you on the job. They train you how to do the job. And that it's the same in the military. So they train you how to, be a combatant or whatever. I'm not dissing the military. I respect the military. But I'm just saying there's different kinds of education into. There's education that is targeted at your mind, the way that you deal with the way that you interact with your environment. There's that sort of education. And there's education on how to get things done. So there's different. So I think prisoners should be educated, but what kind of education? It's one that helps them to get back into normal lifestyle or normal living, everyday living. You see prisoners, they come back, and some of them they beat their wives, they'll even murder and maybe they went in there for stealing, but they come out and they're even more hardened, aren't they? So it's the education, isn't it? This
It's
should
worth
be,
one thing. Sorry to interrupt. One thing that's worth remembering,
yeah.
statistically, and I think it's a fairly recent survey by the Justice Department. 50% of prisoners are functionally illiterate. Um, and I think 57% have a reading age less than that of an 11-year-old. Now that this is a major problem because if you can't read or write properly, then you don't have much chance, certainly when you're coming out. And it just reminds me that I know somebody. In fact, he's dead now, but he did teach a number of prisoners to read individually. I think it was in double figures, but it's just something that helps prisoners to read, write. That's part of the rehabilitation process. But yeah, we're running out of time, so over to you, Cuz.
Yeah. So if you've been watching and listening to the Alien Spaceship, this is all we've got time for. Join us again next week. Hopefully, Jerome will be here with some insights into the mind.
Very
Really
good.
enjoy it. Yeah. So join us again next week as we bring this show to a close. I've been Emma Hickens, and he calls me Cos. He's
I'm
going.
Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv.
That's good. Yeah. And we have Jerome all the way from Birmingham. We call him the King of Birmingham.
Oh, come on, bro.
The King of Birmingham. That's good. King of Brum.
Come
Birmingham
on,
King.
come on.
The
There can be just one king in the UK. You know
Birmingham King.
that.
Anyway, I was just pulling your leg.
I
So
know. No.
it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me too.
So yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Good to see you, Jerome. Really good.
Right. So what we do, Jerome, I know you love football, and I love football. So what we do is we just transition into football. But if anybody wants to go and get a drink, because I certainly
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a quick
I will.
drink, so I'm just gonna go off camera but it's
Okay.
still on. It's still on, but I'm just gonna go off camera, so you're not staring at a blank screen.
So
But I'll be back.
I'm gonna log back in. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
all right.
join you back. Yeah.
Oh, all right, okay, yeah. So I'll be back in 2 minutes. Right,
There you
I'm
are.
back. Mm. So, is it still going, this one? Ah, so, right, okay, so let's just do the record. Right, okay, so do you want to do the opening introduction for this one, please, bruv?
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon. We're back with our weekly podcast, The Football Referee. I am Trevor Gear, and he calls me Cuz. No, sorry. I am Trevor Gear, and he calls me Bruv.
And I'm Emma Hickens, and he calls me Cuz. Welcome
That's
to the
right.
football. Welcome to the football referee. So, Crystal Palace. Is
Yeah.
that are you through to the finals now? Or is it still the
No,
semi-final?
no. The semi-final second leg is tomorrow night at Selhurst Park at Palace. So we'll be there supporting the team on the first leg last week in Poland, in Krakow, against a Ukraine team, Shakhtar. Palace won that 3-1, the away leg. So that was good. And they were quite a good team, Shakhtar. They had 7 Brazilians, 7 young Brazilian guys, and you could see their technique was brilliant, really. So I think it was a very good result for Palace to get the away leg out the way at 3-1, winning 3-1. So tomorrow night, the big downside possibility is that people get complacent. I don't think the team would. I don't think the manager would. I don't really think the fans would. But having said all that, you're 3-1 up, and then you've got the home leg where you've got all the full support of the home crowd. It's a bit almost inevitable. There's going to be some sense of, oh, well, I think we're as good as in the final. And that could be a dangerous attitude to be taking. So I'm sure the team will give it their all. Disappointed with the result we had away to Bournemouth on Sunday. Partly, I think partly because he played a weaker team, if I can put it that way. The idea is with a squad nowadays, there's no such thing as a weaker team, but he definitely dropped some of the bigger players, if you like, and Palace really didn't play very well, certainly until the second half when he brought on some of the players and we got a bit better, but we lost 3-0 on that, which will be an interesting point at some stage to talk about the penalty that was conceded by Palace, um, which made it 2-0 to Bournemouth. So it was quite a key time to get that second goal. But it was the referee gave the penalty, went to VAR, and they went along with it, didn't even send him to the side. And yet, ever since, any pundit on Match of the Day or Sky or any of the programs which do ref watch, referee watch, there's not a single pundit or ex-ref who said that was a penalty. Everyone has said that was never a penalty. Now, we can, at some point, just talk about that. Because
Mm,
to me, it was one of the worst, if not probably the worst VAR decision I've
mm,
ever seen. But anyway, we can come back to that at some point. But yeah, so Palace tomorrow night, second leg of the semi-final. If
mm.
we go through, if we win that, if we go through to the final, that'll be in Leipzig, I think on the 27th of May, in Leipzig in Germany. So yeah, it'll be great for Palace if we do get there and eventually win the Conference League. That will be an incredible 12 months of Oliver Glasner with the FA Cup, the Community Shield, and God willing, the European Conference League. That would be an incredible 12 months for Palace and for the supporters.
I'll tell you what, I will personally be celebrating with Palace.
Good.
I will. I will.
That's
Yeah.
great.
'Cause I just won. Because, like when Palace was robbed of that FA Cup, the Europa, um,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Europa promotion they were supposed to get, I felt it wasn't a good feeling. I don't like injustice.
no.
So for you to then get that Europa, that's what I'm really rooting for Palace. Anyway, we'll uh, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But I just
Just
hope
tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night that will
just
be.
hope that Palace scales through. Now this one is Harry Maguire. So Harry
Yeah.
Maguire is willing to accept a big pay cut, right? Is willing to accept a big pay cut so he can stay at Manchester United. Now, he said he said it previously that he's willing to accept a pay cut.
Mm.
Now, this time, he's willing to accept a big pay cut to stay at Manchester United. Now, if you was Carrick, or maybe Carrick's not a decision maker at this point, but if you was at the helm of decision making at Manchester United, would you keep him?
Me personally, I probably wouldn't. No, I think he's
No.
had his best days. I've said this before. I think he's had his best days. He's a good defender.
Yeah.
He may well be in the World Cup squad. Whether he'll be first choice to play, I don't know. But
Mm,
no, I think he's given Manchester United excellent service over a good number of years.
mm,
But I think, yeah, I mean, it says something that he will be prepared to take a pay cut. But that's a good thing, if you like, that he wants to stay there. But it also probably reflects that he's not necessarily first in their plans for the coming season and the future. So, no,
Mm.
I wouldn't seek to keep him. No.
Mm. Mm. But it is the policy of your club, hypothetically speaking, you are Manchester United. It's the policy of your club to reward loyalty. We've seen that with oh, what's his name? Ole Gunnar
Yeah,
Solskjaer.
absolutely.
Can't
Yeah.
pronounce that name. And then
Okay.
we've seen it again with Carrick. Would you not be thinking, well, okay, we'll keep him. You know, loyalty. He's been loyal. He's been a loyal, really loyal servant to Manchester United.
Yeah, but loyalty, in my view, should not be. Um, that can be a bit of an emotional weak point, can't it? If you
Right?
think, well, because someone's got this long history, this long connection, we've got to
Mm,
look after them. You don't have loyalty at the expense of um, the team itself and the future of the team. You have to be pretty ruthless, and we see this in people like Guardiola at Manchester City, where when someone's come to the end of the line, as far as he's concerned, off they
mm,
go. One
mm,
case in point was Kevin De Bruyne. I don't think he wanted to leave. He made it clear he didn't, but he
mm.
wasn't starting every game towards the end of the season a couple of seasons ago, and off he went. So I think you've got to be ruthless sometime for the
Yeah,
sake of the team and the future of the team.
yeah. Jerome, I'm just gonna come to you. You're a Manchester United fan, so Harry Maguire is willing to take a big pay cut. Not just a pay cut, but a big pay cut
A
to
massive.
stay. What are you Arsenal?
No, I'm not Arsenal.
Ah, so you're Manchester United. I know
Yeah.
you're Manchester United, yeah. So Harry Maguire is willing to take a big pay cut to stay. What are your thoughts?
Mm, okay. You see, I'm just a fan. I'm not a coach.
Yeah.
So my opinion is just down to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, at his best, it was good. Yeah.
Right.
But right now, I think the team should be planning for the future.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, if I was the coach, if I can get a better replacement,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll let them go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
letting a player go without a proper replacement
Yeah.
might add to the woes of the team.
Right. Okay.
So if you get a proper replacement,
Yeah.
when he was Harry Maguire, I'm not saying it's not good. It's good. Yeah, yeah. You know it was dependable. Yeah,
Yeah.
but at this point, I think yeah, if you get a better replacement, let him go. Let him go.
Hmm.
That would be my take. It's
Oh,
down.
okay.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're with what you're with Brav on that. Okay.
Yes, I'm with him on that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see, what you said about loyalty to the yes, but if it's going to be detrimental at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the club comes first.
Yeah.
The club comes first, and we the fans are there. That will be like, oh, Carrick should have let him go
Hmm.
if anything goes wrong at the end of the day. So yeah, if you got a better replacement for him, let him go.
Yeah. Is he not doing a good job at this point? Does anyone think he's not doing a good job at Manchester United? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think he is doing a good job
Huh?
because, as I say, he's got the history of being a good player. You don't play for Manchester United and England if you're not a very good player. So
Hmm.
he's definitely up there with some very good central defenders. And of course,
Hmm.
on top of that,
Hmm.
I believe it's still true to say that since Michael Carrick was appointed, and this
Hmm.
is, I think, before last weekend's games, but
Hmm.
up to then, since he was appointed, Manchester United have won more points in the Premier League than any
Hmm.
other team. 29 points up to last
Hmm.
week, this past weekend.
Mhm.
So,
Hmm.
by definition, Manchester United have done very well
Yeah.
since Carrick has gone there, and you
Mm,
don't get that if you don't have a decent defence. And as far as I can see, Harry Maguire has been picked for most of those games, if not all of them, and has made he's strengthened the defence. So no, I don't think anyone is saying he's not good enough, but I
mm,
think, as Jerome said, you've got to have a look to the future now.
mm,
He's probably past his best days, and
mm,
thank you very much, Harry. You've done a brilliant job, but
mm.
you're not really. We're looking for something a bit younger, a bit stronger now.
Yeah, yeah. So don't give him a new contract, but keep him. Or don't keep him, just get rid of him.
That's difficult, isn't it? I mean,
Mm,
you could say if you keep him, he may get paid per game. Sometimes they do that, don't they? When a player's out
mm.
of contract, if they do play them, they will give them a payment per game. But that seems a bit clumsy to me. If they decide not to, if they decide they're not going to match the contract he would actually want or that he had, yes, I
Mm.
think you've got to give him the chance to go and get a payday somewhere else by
Well,
taking a signing on fee. He may need to go down a division, but I suspect there could be teams in the Premier League who may want his experience and his ability. So he'll do all right for himself. And I think you just have to be a bit ruthless when you run a football club. When a player has reached the end of their, you know, profitable performance life, then perhaps they need to go. And it's a tough business, but that has to be.
yeah. I think he knows it as well, don't he? It would at this point. No, yeah. Anyway, okay. So Bukayo Saka. It says it's it's so beautiful. You have to see what it means to us, what it means to the fans. So Bukayo Saka was injured, and now he's back. Is it made any? Is that what's made the difference with Arsenal? Because Arsenal seem to have been just fairly getting by. And I don't mean it for the whole season. I just mean this past 2 months. They've just been a bit lackadaisical with the winning spirit that they came in this season with. Um, Now, I noticed, I don't know if anybody else did, that during that period they were lacking Saka. They didn't
Mm.
have because he were out with injury. Now that he's back, do we think he is the sort of like the talisman? You know, what we thinking?
Football is a team game, yeah?
It is a team
It's a
game,
team
yes.
game. And I wouldn't say with just Saka alone with it in the team that makes a difference. It's a team
Mm,
game. But he's coming into the game, into the team, well, might inject some drive into it. But I wouldn't say it's just down to him.
mm,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
yeah, for me, yeah, I make jest of my Arsenal supporters friend. Like
yeah,
I tell them this season they like every other UKI stuff, they do
mm,
sales.
right,
Arsenal when it comes to April, March, April, they always do sales. That's when you
right,
see them get beaten by even the team at the bottom of the table,
yeah,
just drop unnecessary points. That's
yeah,
their sales season. Saka or no Saka. Yeah. So I just think, yeah, it's football. So yeah, I'm not going to say Saka is good as an individual, but it doesn't. It's not just his impact that is carrying the team along.
mm,
Because Arsenal got some really good players, even
mm,
though I'm not their fan. Yeah, but yeah, it's not just Saka. I just think it's. I think they've just noticed is yes, we just have to do this.
mm,
We've not had
okay,
this Premiership or this. Never had the Champions League.
mm,
This could be a time to get it. So I think they just pouring their best, and that was what made did the magic.
Yeah. Bruv.
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably agree with what Jerome said there. One player doesn't usually make a team. Having said
Yeah.
that, I mean, individual players can make a big difference. I mean,
Mm,
we know at Palace that we lost Eze, and yeah, he didn't make the team. He did score the goal in last year's FA Cup final, and
mm,
he's doing pretty well for Arsenal as well. Some days he does better than others, but yeah, he's always likely to come up and score a goal. In the case of Saka, I mean, he played all right last night. I thought if you saw the game um, against Atletico, but he scored a very good goal because somebody had a good shot. The goalkeeper, very good save, parried it, and Saka had to react pretty quickly with his left foot to poke it into the goal. So he was there at the right moment, and he's got a feel. Good players have a feel for being in the right place at the right time. But I
mm,
sort of agree with Jerome. I don't, his absence for a few weeks with injury, yeah, the fans may say, well, it did make a difference. We didn't have that strength on the right going down with his
mm,
runs. He's a very good dribbler of the ball, and he puts crosses across. He gets some good assists. So we missed that. But then a team like Arsenal, they've got a very good squad overall, and they have got players who can stand in. Okay, may not be quite as good in a given position,
mm,
so it's a difficult one because, as you say, they did have a funny period of the last couple of months. Then you could say they've kind of wobbled in the last, the last 3 years. I think they've been runners up, and
mm,
that's become an Arsenal thing, isn't it? That they tend
Yeah.
to wobble in the last part or the second half of the season. So
mm,
it may be more to do with that than the fact that Saka was absent, because, as I say, they do have very good people they can bring in from the bench. So to answer the question, I would say no. I don't think he was the cause of Arsenal, falling short. But I think
mm,
now he's back. Obviously, they may well recover their past, brilliance, if you like, because they're a good all-round team, aren't they? And they're in the final of the Champions League, so it'll be
mm,
quite an achievement to win that, which they haven't done for quite a long time, have they?
yeah. Now, England. What we're thinking about soccer for England.
Well, he'll be in the squad undoubtedly, as he should be. And
Mm,
again, it's the old thing. If a player can reproduce his club form for the national side, then that can only be good for England. We're all
mm,
hoping that we do pretty well this time, and he could make a big difference. I think if he's in the squad, which I can't imagine he wouldn't be,
mm,
then I think he'll get picked as well because he's got
yeah,
so much talent going
yeah,
past people on the wing there.
yeah. It gives us hope. Gives us hope, definitely. Um, Now, who thought Arsenal would get to the final of UCL?
Hmm.
Nobody thought.
Hmm.
Nobody thought that, did it? I've asked this question. I've asked a lot of people this question. I said, did you ever think that Arsenal would get to the final? Nah, nah. Because last season they got to quarterfinals, and that was it. They did beat Real Madrid quite really well. But yeah, I'm quite happy for Arsenal.
It's my take is not because they're not good.
Mm,
It's just that when you expect Arsenal to like play like beat some certain teams, they just disappoint you.
mm,
You get me? Not because as a team they've got players,
mm,
individuals, got, they got good players. It's just that I don't know. Should I just say it's an Arsenal team?
yeah.
They just disappoint you when you're counting on them to like. So because of that, most people are like, "Oh no, not Arsenal." You know.
Yeah. Yeah. But just as a follow-on question, because I did mention it last week when Tony was here, I said we never know. They might win the championship, Champions League. Now, who thinks Arsenal would win the Champions League? I
Why
love the
you?
silence.
What's funny? Why are you laughing?
I love I love the silence on Brob's face. He's like that.
I did what? Did I say that? Did I give an answer to that last week? Did I say they would or wouldn't?
Silence just says it. Oh. Right. So, Raya, it says we lost 0 games this Champions League season and only conceded 6 goals. It's remarkable. And this is their goalkeeper. This is their goalkeeper. Now, I don't. All right. So say we can say whatever we like about Arsenal, but they've exceeded our expectations. At least, even if it's just for now, let's bask in that glory. There's an English team in the UCL still,
Hmm.
We never
Yeah.
know. You never know. You never know. We've seen greater upsets in football. Arsenal might be bringing the cup home. I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't like Arsenal, but it's the only English team in the UCL. So yeah. But anyway, so moving on from Arsenal. Manchester City, they right to still be hoping to lift the title? Are they justified?
Well, I mean, probably up until a few days ago, yes.
Mm.
But after their result the other day against who was it against?
Everton.
Everton,
Everything.
away to Everton, three
Mm,
three, and they were 3-1 down, and they got 2 goals pretty late, didn't they?
mm,
It was a bit of a shock result, I think, to people. I thought most of us thought City would do that. And of course, what it's done is it leaves Arsenal, it's in their hands. If they win their games, they will win the league. And what
mm,
a double that would be for Arsenal, wouldn't it? For Champions League, if they win that, and the Premier League. What a double indeed. Yeah,
mm,
I'm surprised that Manchester City have faltered at this stage when it was pretty much in their hands. Although that said, because Arsenal went a bit ahead on the goal difference, it could still have been in Arsenal hands, even if Man City had won that game the other day. No, it looks on paper as if Arsenal will do it, but maybe there's a few twists and turns yet. What I do know is that my team, Palace, will or could have a say in the Premier League winners because we play Manchester City away um, 1 week today, I think it is. Yeah, 1 week today, the 13th, and we play Arsenal at home on the last game of the season. So yeah, we if for example, if Arsenal have to win on the last day of the season, it's going to be quite a challenge for Palace to say, well, we're going to try and do something about that, particularly as if we get to the final of the Conference League, that final is the Wednesday after the last game of the Premier League season. So I wouldn't imagine that Glasner's going to put out necessarily his strongest side. Who knows? Who knows? And we don't really talk nowadays about fielding a weaker side because you have squads. So you can't accuse a team of playing a weaker side. But yeah, if I had to make a decision now as to whether I
mm,
think Arsenal will win one or both of those competitions. My gut feeling is that it could well be that they will. If they falter on one, I think it will be the Champions League because we'll find out tonight, won't we, with the game Bayern
Gee,
against PSG. Whichever one of those wins and meets Arsenal in the final, it could be a hell of a game. It could be a hell of a match. And I just have a feeling if Arsenal will have won or just about to win have won the Premier League by then, they're going to be, I suppose they'll be more relaxed, but maybe their guard will be down a bit, thinking, well, we've done the one we really wanted to win, the Premier League. This one isn't quite so vital. So it could go either way, but I find it hard to think they would win both of those competitions.
mm. Okay, we'll see. Because we never expected them to get to where they are now.
No,
That's
no,
what.
no. At the beginning of the season, at the point in the season, they were hoping for 4 trophies.
Yeah,
It went down to
yeah,
3, and now it's 2. So
yeah.
hopefully, wishing
Mm,
them the best. You know, yeah, they got this match against is it West Ham? West Ham
Yep.
is
Yep.
trying to stay afloat. So that match might not go easy for us now.
Mm. Mm.
So
Well,
Mm.
yes, and it's a local derby as well, London derby as well.
yeah.
So
Mm.
if they by chance lose that match, then
Mm.
I think they would. I will just advise them to concentrate on the Champions League
I can tell
because
you.
West Ham is not going to let it go easy. Because if
No, they're
West
not.
Ham loses that match, they're going
Yeah.
relegation because they are down
Yeah.
there already. So you
Yeah.
see that West Ham or Tottenham, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
West Ham is just. I know they're going to give it everything just to like stay afloat,
Mm.
and they're not
Yeah.
even going to let Arsenal stand in their way.
Yeah. But this latter
Mm.
part of the season, I'm an Arsenal fan. Anyway. Right. Okay. So, hair pulling is
Yeah.
suddenly a red card offense. How did we get there?
Well, it should be a red card offence first and
Right.
foremost. I
Okay.
think there was one in the ladies' game 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think it was a sending off. I think it was an Arsenal player pulled
Mm.
the hair of her opponent on the other side, and she was rightly sent off. There was, if you go on YouTube, I forget the name of the woman's player, but it's a foreign player in another league, not the
Mm.
women's league here. But she made a bit of a regularity of pulling opponents' hairs. I mean, she was vicious. You could see the camera went on, she just pulled them over. And I think she was eventually banned. I can't remember her
Mm.
name. Whether she's come back now, I don't know. But of course, it happened in a game the other day, didn't it? And I can't think of the game. You probably remember, but the
Mm.
the camera clearly shows that the the person who was sent off said, "Well, I
Mm.
didn't pull the person's hair. The guy had a sort of a ponytail or a bun or something,
Mm.
and you can clearly see him sort of holding the hair." But he reckoned that the player who with the hair backed into him, and eventually
Mm.
sort of he let go. Now it's quite hard to judge that, but
Mm.
when I looked at that, I thought, well, his hand seemed to be round this guy's hair, and it could easily be interpreted that he was pulling it. And if nothing else, you've got to kind of stamp that out. I mean, some players do have longer hair, some have a bun or a ponytail, which
Mm.
can be pulled. And that you cannot allow that to spread into the game because that's going to lead to all sorts of issues. So
Mm.
how has it come into the game? I can't remember any or any
Mm.
other issues in the men's game of that. It's obviously more likely to be in the women's game because they have longer hair generally. But yeah,
Okay.
it did come into our game, the men's game, the other day.
Mm. Jerome?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's meant to be a red card offense because
All right.
according to FIFA, air is treated as part of the body, and
Okay.
any deliberate pulling or using of excessive force or aggression is should be considered as a red card offense.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, I think it falls under like a violent conduct by the
Mm.
player.
Yep.
So I think it's a red card offense.
Yeah. Yeah, you can pull somebody's shirt, drag them down. You pull their hair, and it's a red card. Now, the irony, yeah, sorry, go on. Yeah, the irony of this was that I think it happened, the first time it happened was Calvin Lewin. It happened to Calvin Lewin. And it was a Manchester United player, I can't remember who he was now, that pulled his hair and he got a red card. Now, the irony is that Calvin Lewin was then sent off for pulling Chelsea's Coachella's hair.
When was this? Was this a long time ago? When was this?
No, this was one of the recent ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Um, yeah,
I didn't know that.
and I was watching it and I'm thinking, oh my days,
Yeah.
look at that. You got sent off for pulling somebody's hair, and then somebody got sent off for pulling your hair. Now you're pulling somebody else's hair. Hmm. Hmm. Anyway,
Crazy.
so yeah, so that happened. Um, so the next one that we're going to go to is João Pedro. Now, João Pedro, it says, is the only player in the Premier League to have scored 15 goals or more without one penalty this season, just this season. Um, would anyone would you have thought that? Would anyone have thought that João Pedro would have been the only player in the Premier League to have scored 15 goals without penalty? Would he have stood
Which
out?
team?
That's
Just remind me, which team is he with? There's
all
a
right. Is
couple
it
of Pedro.
Chelsea?
Is
Chelsea.
it Chelsea? I was going to say
Yeah,
Chelsea. Yeah.
Chelsea. Yeah. Does it stand out as a? Well, I know he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I know he's a good player, but does he stand out as somebody that scored that many goals? Would he have stood out?
You know, yeah, I think I take your point. And
Hmm.
you hear his name mentioned, of course, and if he's got 15 goals, none of which are a penalty, then that is impressive. I think, in a sense, 15 is the new 20. We used to say a player needs to get, a top player in the Premier League should get 20. Well, I guess times have got tougher in the Premier League with the competitive nature of it. So 15 goals without a penalty is a pretty good effort, and I think there's
Hmm.
quite a few players around that number. But yeah, I'm not sure he stands out. Partly because Chelsea have been in the doldrums. They've not scored. I think it is in 6 games, 6 Premier League games.
Hmm.
And of course, your friend Cole Palmer on the weekend missed a penalty, didn't he? He had it saved, where you could have broken that duck. But it's one of those stats now which says never in Chelsea's history have they gone 6 games without scoring a goal. Now that is quite a phenomenal stat for any team, isn't it? Really. But yeah, it's
Hmm.
never happened before to Chelsea. So I think when a team isn't doing overly well, certainly these last few months, then in a sense, it's unusual for one player to stand out, even though if they were doing a bit better, he probably would stand out and get mentioned more. But yeah, I don't think I don't think anyone at Chelsea at the moment is flying high. Not at all.
Hmm. No,
It's going to be an
no.
interesting cup final, isn't it? With Manchester City on paper, Manchester City should win that easily, but again, it doesn't work out like that often. The game isn't played on paper, is it? That's the point.
No, it doesn't, does it? Yeah, Jerome, Joe
Yeah,
Pedro.
I think with 15 goals, um, yeah, it's good. Yeah, with 15 goals, I'll definitely say for him to have able to score 15 goals in a season in the Premiership, that would that says a lot about him. But
Hmm.
on the field of play, does it stand out compared to other strikers? Other
Yeah,
ah, personally, I'll say no.
yeah,
I'm not saying he's not a good player, but
yeah. We're not saying that.
he's not. I've not been that impressed with his play the few times I've watched him. But
Hmm.
he's a good player, and being able to score 15 goals, I think yeah, he should get credit for it.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Now this one is Ronaldo. Ronaldo, he is 30 goals away from scoring 1,000 in his career. Do we think he's gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? 30 goals.
Yeah, I
Yes.
was kind of thinking he'd already got that 1,000, but I'm sure you're right. He's not. He's got 970,
70,
presumably.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. He's over 40 now, isn't he? He
Mm,
definitely
mm,
is over 40, which in
mm,
football terms is well, the word isn't old, but for football, I
mm,
guess he's very senior. He could do it. It depends, doesn't it? If he's got a contract for the next season or so,
mm.
then he probably will do it. But if he's in a league with reasonable competition, I mean, he's in Saudi, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
He's in
Yes.
Saudi. So
Yes.
again, yeah, by all accounts, the Saudi league, whilst getting stronger and better, it's
It is
not
indeed.
equivalent. It's not equivalent to the Premier League. So you could argue that it will be simpler for someone of his quality to get those goals. But to get another 30 goals between now, say, and the end of next season would still be
Mm.
a tough ask for anybody. So who knows? It would be disappointing to see him have to stop on 992 or something, wouldn't it?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Same thing I thought. Yeah. Go on, Jerome.
Oh, oh, okay. People look down at this at the league, Saudi
Saudi.
league. Yeah.
Saudi. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we've seen lots of players from top European leagues go down there, and they end up not performing as expected. So
Hmm.
for Ronaldo to still be scoring goals, I mean, he's got that drive or that something in him.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to him reaching the 1,000 mark, wow, that's a big task.
Yeah.
That's a big task to have. We don't know what his contract will be like for next year,
Yeah.
and hopefully there are no injuries. But I know he's a determined player, and
Yeah.
if he get his mind fixed on something, he tries to accomplish it.
Yeah.
But let's see how it goes. I wouldn't say it's impossible.
Mm.
Yeah, if he's fit and if he keep banging in the goals, why not?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. We'll see. It's just the age, isn't it? Age is not on his side anymore. That's the
It's,
thing. Yeah.
we're seeing African players older than him
Yeah.
play and
Yeah.
score more goals. So
Yeah.
let's see.
Yes,
He,
that's
he
true.
does
Yeah.
his training. He's always fit. Yeah,
Yeah. He's very
hopefully.
dedicated, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very, very dedicated to his game. Right, okay. So, what we're doing for time, Thursday. All right, so I think yeah, all right. So let's just see. We've got about 3 minutes. Uh FIFA are proposing a new rule that may enforce senior teams to have an under 21 player on the pitch at all times. So yeah, yeah, you have your experienced players. There's got to be an under 21 in there, at all times. What do we think?
Well, what is the purpose of that rule then? Why are they suggesting that should be the case?
Well, I suppose it'd be to blood in, new players, make it a level playing field, maybe equality. It could be all sorts of reasons, couldn't it? Um, that's a very good question. I didn't really look into the reason why. I just thought, I read it and I thought this is outrageous.
Mm.
As you
Yeah, it is
would have.
outrageous. It is. It
Yeah.
is outrageous. It's not FIFA's job to pick the teams of teams around the world in the different leagues.
Mm,
That's an absolute nonsense, and
mm,
it's certainly not an obvious thing as to why they might do that. Bring on new players. Well, that's up to the ownership and management of any club who they
mm,
bring on when they bring them on. And if a
mm,
club hasn't got a particularly good under 21 player or whatever, then they could be, completely difficulties for them
mm,
in having to pick someone who they wouldn't otherwise pick. So I think we would need to know much more about the rationale of why they are saying that. I think there's been quite a few law changes recently. I know we're seeing five, I think, to be starting in this World Cup. Things
mm,
like limited time for throw-ons and other things. And I'm sure most of the rules, new laws are
mm,
beneficial to the game. That usually is the case. But I think to start bringing out changes and you must do this, saying that to the team or the club for its own sake, just to wield your power, I just don't like the idea of that. So I
mm,
would fight. I would fight that if I were a club owner. What's it got to do with you? Who we pick,
mm,
we pay their salaries. We've got an academy. We bring them on in our own time and our own way. So
mm.
yeah, it's not something I would go along with at all.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
think. I think from what I gathered, it's still in the consultation stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's not being fully implemented. And I
Mm,
think what something I had was that I think people it was these came about about they want about youth development. So
mm,
they want to be they say most clubs like buying finished product while they
mm,
have lots of young players in the academics that don't get time
mm,
playing time. So I think they're just trying to give these guys opportunity to, to show their talents and, I think that's just it. It's not a bad, to some extent, it's not a bad idea, but it's still in the consultation stage. And I think they still, yeah, consulting with teams and to hear what they've got to say.
yeah. Okay. This is all we've got time for on this segment. So we'll go over to the next segment now. So bring this segment to a close. Bruv, do you want to conclude this segment for us, please?
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll carry on in a few moments. For the moment, I've been Trevor Gear, and he calls me Bruv.
And I'll be Lemmy Hickens, and he calls me Cos.
Sure, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me today, guys.
the bro, the Brummy King, yeah.
The Brummy King.
We got Jerome, the Brummy King. Join us in the second segment. It's a goodbye from me from here.
Goodbye from me too.
Right. Are you joining us in the second segment? Oh, he's gone. Okay. Right. Okay. Should we start it straight away, bruv?
Yep, fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
He may come back.
Great, yeah. Okay, so welcome to the second segment of the Football Referee with myself, Emmy Hickins, and he calls me bruv. He
And
calls me cuz.
me, Trevor Gear, and I call him Cuz.
Oh, he calls me cuz, yeah. We'll we'll get it right someday, viewers. Don't worry.
Very
I know we're
professional.
live. Yeah. Right. Okay. So, Pep Guardiola on Jack Grealish. This is what he says. So, Pep Guardiola was asked about Jack Grealish's future. I don't know. I want the best for Jack. I know the impact at Everton was really good, playing minutes he had in the treble. Unfortunately, the injury, but hopefully he can recover and next season can continue to play. Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish, sorry. What is Guardiola thinking? Is he thinking, "Oh, I've made a mistake or, good for him or whatever? What is it regrets?
I don't know. He's on loan, I think, at Everton, isn't he? I don't think he was transferred from Man
Oh,
City. They
was he
still
not? All
own.
right. Okay.
I think so. I mean, I probably would need to check that, but I
Hmm.
could be wrong. But I think he's on loan. But yeah, I mean, I think his comments probably were, I don't know, but they may have been after Jack Grealish was photographed in a, I don't know where, is a bar or I think he was outside somewhere, fast asleep
Hmm.
on a chair by a table with loads of empty glasses on it, which may or may not have been Jack's, probably not all of them. So it's
Hmm.
like, I don't really understand why people around him, because he is known to enjoy a drink or two. Let's face it, and a good time. He celebrates well when Man City win, etc. So he does have that little bit of a reputation. We know he's a very good footballer, and generally, I think it's true to say that the top players, particularly when they go out socialising, which clearly they do, and they're fully entitled to,
Hmm.
they should be amongst friends and buddies who will look after them so that if one of them completely overdrinks and gets sloshed and all the rest of it, rather than let them be made to look a bit of a fool, then get them outside, get them out of the way of the cameras. But evidently, somebody there took a picture of him when he was asleep. Now, that doesn't really mean too much, but the interpretation and the visuals don't go down too well. Seeing
Hmm.
all the drinks and bottles and empty glasses and stuff. So I'm just surprised that somebody in Jack's circle wouldn't be looking after him, even if the picture was taken by somebody on the staff of the place, wherever it was.
mm,
So you can't blame it's not one of his own friends. But there
mm,
should be a little arrangement with. I'm sure there is for many footballers and other famous sports people. Look, if I
mm,
get into a bit of a fix as I've drunk too much, can you look after me, get me out of the way of cameras and stuff, and get me home? I mean, I don't know. I'm just surprised to see a picture like that because somehow it does tend to be the same people who get photographed. Now, I would
mm,
imagine that Guardiola's comments come in the wake of that. Probably he was asked, "What do you think about Jack Grealish?" and so on, and he spoke very positively of him. He knows Jack always put his best into the times when he played for Manchester City, whether he came on as a sub or whether he started the game. And he is a good player, very good player. So I suppose Pep is saying, look, the guy's a good footballer. He's a good guy at heart. Yeah, he might have a weakness with that, but I still favour him. I still think he's good. But yeah, I'm disappointed for Grealish that he doesn't have someone around him, or that he doesn't make sure someone around him is a friend who will know pictures and get him out of the way when he perhaps has had too much to drink. But
mm.
it's not for me to make that decision or
No.
judgment. It's just a shame that he gets that reputation by pictures like that.
Mm. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Well, anyway, now still on Manchester City, Phil Foden signs new deal at Manchester City, valid until June 2030. Um, the agreement will also include an option to extend the contract until 2031. Now, Phil Foden, what are we thinking? England, is it in or out?
I suspect he will be in. It's
Mm,
not always easy to read Thomas Tuchel's mind on this, but because he's had him in before, I think he will be in the squad. I mean, it's maybe a little bit unfortunate for Phil Foden that he hasn't featured quite so much starting for Manchester City. I
mm,
mean, they've got some newer players like the guy from Bournemouth,
mm,
who's playing pretty well, and of course Jeremy Doku is playing out of his skin. But Phil comes on, and he's not going to suddenly become a bad player.
mm,
I don't know whether he's at the peak of his form anymore. He obviously has got
mm,
a lot because they've given him this longer contract. I think he will be picked for England. I do. Whether
mm,
he will be a starter, I don't know, and we could say that about quite a lot of them. But
mm,
I'm not so sure that. I don't think he's played so well for Manchester City this season as in, say, last season. But at the end of the day, he's a good player, and I will pick him in the England squad. And then you look at people in training, what their frame of mind is, and whether you think he's going to do the business.
mm. Okay. Now, if you was Thomas Tuchel, you had the option of Nico O'Reilly, Phil Foden. Who you going for?
O'Reilly,
I thought
one
so.
word answer.
Yeah,
He's
I
he's
thought so.
he's incredible. He's really blossomed this
Mm,
season into a serious contender for honours for Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, and so on.
mm.
He's superb, a real discovery, I think.
Yes, yeah. Now, here is um, players' value, right? But first of all, let me ask you, what do you think? How much do you think Lamine Yamal is worth? His market value at this point?
Well, who knows? Because I
Mm,
mean, on present day values, and
mm,
his still potential, and he's fulfilling a lot of it as he goes.
mm,
You presumably got to be talking like of 200 million, something like that. Given that other players, someone like Isak, who is a good player, was 100. We think about 125 million. Incidentally, he came back the week before last at Liverpool. He scored a goal against Palace. I went up to see that match in Liverpool. and he
Mm,
looked good. He was substituted eventually, but only to bring someone else. And I didn't think he was injured. But this
mm,
past weekend, he didn't play because I think he's injured again, which is the trouble when you have a long period out. You eventually get back to fitness and you come on, you're running the risk of another injury because
mm.
your body is so out of kilter with the demands of the game. So hopefully he'll be all right. Anyway, if he was 125 million, Yamal, excuse me, has got to be 200 million. I mean, I don't know where this inflationary spiral will ever stop. Does
Mm.
it? Will we eventually see a £1 billion footballer? I mean, probably at some stage. If another Messi turned up along the way, that would be a possibility. But yeah, 200 million sounds crazy. But
Yeah,
yeah, who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. Now, and this one says Bayern Munich's front three become just the third trio this decade to score 100 goals in a single season.
Well, well,
This
well,
season
that's
alone,
Michael Elise, Harry Kane, and
and the former Liverpool guy,
oh Diaz, yeah, Diaz.
Diaz. Yeah,
He's excellent. Yeah,
yeah, a
incredible front
hundred,
three, aren't they?
a
Incredible.
hundred goal.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So they've got some squad there.
Well, I mean, Harry Kane has scored. Is it around 60 or a bit more than that? It's around
I
that
think
kind of
I
figure,
think
isn't it?
I think 75. So it'd be above 75 now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
really.
the lot.
And I mean,
Yeah, the
Elise,
last.
I know, has got 20 or more and a
Yeah,
similar number of assists as well. I mean, he's playing
yeah,
out of his skin this season as well. They got an
yeah.
amazing. I was always a bit surprised, to be honest, that Liverpool let Diaz go. I don't know whether he was at the end of his contract. He possibly was. But I
Hmm.
would have personally kept him, especially as some of their other players have been going and will go, end of
Hmm.
contracts. He was
Hmm.
one of their brighter players, I felt, and I was surprised, and he's proving that at Bayern, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why they let him go. I don't understand it.
Mm.
That's why they are in the position that they are now. I mean, you lost the other guy in the accident, the one that died.
Jota, wasn't it? Diogo
Yeah,
Jota.
Diogo
Yeah,
Jota. And then you let um, what's his name again? Diaz.
Diaz.
Uh,
Yeah,
you let him go. I don't get it. But anyway, is he going to Bayern Munich on loan or is he sold?
I think
Do we
he's
know?
transferred. I mean, ultimately, it's not always clear, is it? Unless we
Yeah.
actually see it in writing, it's on loan. I think he was transferred probably at the end of his contract, so he
All
was free
right.
to go and sign a new contract. But I
Oh,
don't ultimately know. But I think he
yeah.
was transferred.
He'll
Yeah,
be he'll be kicking himself now, wouldn't he? Anyway,
yeah.
so here's another controversial one. So Arbeloa on Mbappe's holiday with his girlfriend is saying all the injured players are monitored and the medical staff plan everything. Oh, sorry. And the medical staff plan everything. Now, in his free time, any player can do what he wants. I don't get involved. Now, uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're a player, you're injured. I think part of the sensible thing to do would be to rest, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be to start
Mm.
gallivanting or to, on a private yacht. And um, so is it like he's favoriting Mbappe because he's got influence, or is it just the normal thing that coaches would do, just let them go on holiday and stuff like that?
Well, I think this is what I think Guardiola, when I saw him talking about Jack Grealish, as we
Yeah.
mentioned a little while ago,
Mm,
he said, well, he said, I watched them at training, we watch them in matches, we try and look after them in this, that, and the other way. He said, but when they're in their own private time, I have no control over that. And he seemed to
mm,
basically say he should have no control over that, which is why he was saying that Jack
mm.
was seen in the situation he was in, Jack Grealish.
mm,
So Guardiola acknowledged, he seemed to acknowledge that players do have a private life. That said, I think
yeah,
there has to be a reasonable expectation on the part of their clubs that
mm,
they do behave themselves, that they don't kind of overdrink. That I mean, their diets, they're very much monitored, their diets, aren't they? The
mm,
nutritious wise, that they're supposed to eat the good things. Now, no one suggests that in their own time they won't sometimes have a burger and chips. I'm sure, they're human like everybody else. But
mm,
I think clubs have a reasonable right, given what they pay these players, to
mhm,
say, we do expect you to, especially in the closed season, to stay fit, to eat sensibly, not to get overweight, and all the stuff that would go with it. And some would say, well, it infringes their own, ability to be their own person. But no, the clubs pay them, and they have a right to some control. Now, I gather that Mbappe has had a specific argument with one of the coaches at the club, whether it's to do with the nutrition side of things, I don't know. But
mm,
I also read, I think this morning, that there's a petition on the part of the fans of the club that they sell him. He's obviously what he's done has offended quite, or said, has offended quite a lot of their fans, which I was surprised because, we know what a class player, an excellent player he is, and yet thousands of fans have signed this petition. It might even be a lot more than that. I have an idea. It sounds ridiculous. I'd need to check this, but I think it was over 1 million people signed something. So
mm,
whether it's sort of fans around the world or around Europe, I don't know. But clearly, he has caused a lot of upset amongst people at the club
mm.
and the fan base as well, being offended. So that's going to be quite interesting to see what happens there, whether he comes back cap in hand and apologises, or whether too much water has gone under the bridge.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's going to be quite an interesting one. But to come to the point, I think, as I've already said, that individuals must have some say in their private life, what they do, and you hope on the basis of them being paid well, they're good footballers, they're ambitious, they want to do well, that they will make good decisions. But as in any walk of life, you will get some who don't make good decisions. Some have more temptation in all sorts of ways than others. So it's
Mm.
a hard one, but they must have the right to some sort of personal life, private life away from the club. The club cannot own them, in my view, 24/7. It can't own them 7 days a week.
No.
Maybe in the season, there's more of that, but in the close season, they must be free to go and have their holidays and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a difficult one, really.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because you think, well, what if they sustain another injury, doing daft things like jumping off board of their yacht or whatever, then who's going to fit that bill? And how long is it going to then take them to
Mm.
then come back to full fitness? Now, Manchester United have invariably qualified for Champions League next season. How is what's that? What's his name?
Carrick,
The the owner.
Michael Carrick. Oh, who?
Uh the owner
Oh, it's a Jim Ratcliffe, you
uh,
mean?
yeah, that's it. Sir
Yeah,
Jim
yeah.
Ratcliffe. Yeah. How is he feeling?
Well, he probably had the other thing that happened the other day to Alex Ferguson. He was taken away to hospital, wasn't
Yeah,
he,
yeah,
before the
yeah,
game? I think.
yeah.
Thankfully, he was okay. Good luck. We wish him well. But I don't think his life was a threat at all. Though when you think he had that, I think it was a brain hemorrhage, a brain aneurysm. It's a good
Mm,
few years ago now, wasn't it? When he was taken to hospital, and I think his life was at risk. But
mm,
that was some years ago. So all credit to him for fighting that and coming back stronger. I gather he was meeting and greeting people, as no doubt he does at every home game before the match when he was
mm,
sort of taken ill. But anyway, hopefully he's fine. We haven't heard anything else, but I'm sure he will be. But that would have been one of Sir Jim Radcliffe's concerns. How is he feeling? Well, he should be feeling pretty good with the way Michael Carrick has done. It will be an interesting decision, won't it? I said earlier that they've got up to last weekend. They have more points since Carrick started than any other Premier League club. So that's got to go in his favour. I think they've only lost two games, as far as I know, and of course they beat Liverpool at the weekend, but only two games under his Carrick's tenure. So it will be difficult to argue against appointing him, particularly as he's got the DNA of Manchester United in his CV, isn't he? He's been there and played there,
Mm,
and so on. But I still have a feeling they're not going to appoint him. I don't know why. I just feel they want to go maybe for a more internationally known manager, someone with a history, etc., etc. But then, where are these people? We know a number of them, and of course, Manchester United have had some of those top people, people
mm,
like Mourinho and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Sir Jim Radcliffe's thoughts are. None of us do, and they can't argue with Champions League qualification, this great run of games under this guy, and you could say, well, give him the job, give him a 2-year contract or something. Um, but maybe they have Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in
mm,
their minds because he did a good job in many ways, but it did sort of start to fade away a bit. And I'm not sure whether he had the necessary disciplinary side to him with the players, having been one of the players when
mm,
he was there, alongside some of the people he was then managing. Maybe Carrick never played alongside the current people, the current players, I wouldn't have thought. But
mm,
so maybe he can be tougher. But you may have that syndrome of an ex-player managing a club doesn't instinctively find it too easy to be tough, to be disciplining players. I don't know, may or may not be a factor in this. On balance, if they give him the job, I say well done. He's actually earned it
mm,
because if someone does a caretaker job at a club and ends up with a qualification of Champions League and two defeats in all those games,
mm.
what can you say? What more could he or she, for that matter, have done? So yeah, I just have a feeling they will go for somebody else, but time will tell. What do you think? Do you think they'll go for him?
Yeah, I don't think they'll. I don't think they will go for him. But I would love for them to
Mm,
keep it. Because I mean, there's that saying, "The devil you know," don't it? You know. Um, they have, they already have that. They already see what he can
yeah,
do. He's already
absolutely.
proved it. He's already proved it with the same
Mm,
players that an internationally renowned manager was using and getting poor results. He used the same player to get good results. So,
mm,
he didn't come
mm,
in there and say, "Oh, I want you gone, I want that gone, I want to change this." He just got down to business, didn't he? He just got it
yeah.
done. And he's still doing a good job. So I don't know why they would want to change him, but I hope they don't because I think it'll just anger a lot of the fans.
And you could
I
argue as well that, in the past with previous managers, and they've had quite a few since Ferguson retired in 2013, I think it was.
Yeah.
There were quite a few managers, and you get the feeling that every single one of them felt the big shadow hanging over them in the form of Alex Ferguson because he goes to
Mm,
games home and away. I'm not sure he's still an ambassador. I think he kind of lost that formal job, but he's still a
mm,
very key figure there. And you can understand his shadow overseeing and causing problems to a current manager because you feel you're being watched at every move. Now, you have to
mm.
say in Carrick's favour that doesn't seem to have affected him because otherwise the
No.
results would show that with just two defeats in so many games,
Yeah.
then he's done what he's done, irrespective of Ferguson or anybody else leaning over his
Mm.
shoulder. So that's got to be a good thing as well. To me,
Yeah.
the fair thing to do would be to, if I were Sir Jim Radcliffe, I think I'd give him a contract for 2 years, and I say if you do it, that's great. Obviously, if you fail dismally in the first year, we'll let you go. but if you do well, then you could be in for a longer contract. In other words, you're hedging your bets a bit. You're recognizing the guy's abilities and what he's done, and he's obviously a decent guy to have around.
Mm.
And you're also saying, but we're not giving you an open contract where, if you don't succeed, you won't last. That's what I think would be the fairest way to play it.
Yeah.
But time will tell.
Time will tell indeed. Yeah. Yeah, of course, he's got cash boost as well. Having qualified, he's got a cash boost to then invest in more players and,
Yeah, yeah.
rotate things around. Now, talking about cash boost, it's talking about Manchester United are tracking Morgan Rogers, who is seen as a long-term option for the number 10 role and can also play on the left, where United want to strengthen for next season. Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa. Good fit or not?
I guess he is. He clearly is an excellent player. I watched the game the other day, probably on Match of the Day or Sky. Aston Villa they lost, didn't they, at home to Spurs?
Hmm.
Which was a bit of a loss for them because Spurs probably wouldn't have been expected to win. And for once, I didn't think Rodgers played overly well by his standards. He set such high standards. He's such a good player. He's in the England squad, will be, I'm sure. But he seemed to have a bit of an off game, as much of the team did, I guess, if they lost. They did that. But again, like Palace, Villa played a weaker team, if that's put it that way, because they too have their Europa League game tomorrow night.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm trying to think who that's against. I can't remember. But anyway, they've got that coming up. So he played a weaker team, which may explain it. But to answer your question, I think Rodgers is of sufficient quality and ability as a player to fit Manchester United on their left flank. I think it'd be ideal there. Yeah, if he wants to go
Oh,
there.
well, that's good. That's good. Yeah. For England, what we thinking of him for England?
Yeah, I
Morgan.
think he's reliable. He's played for recent England teams,
Hmm.
and he's no mug. I mean, he's one of those players who's got the ability. You can see it in. He's got a good football brain and he's got a good technique. So I have no problem with him being in the England side at all.
No. Okay. Now, this next one says Casemiro breaks silence on Manchester United U-turn after Kuna asked him to stay. Um, what are we thinking?
Who asked him to stay? Kuna, you say?
Yeah, Kuna. Kuna that's moved from Wolves, who's bought from
Oh
Wolves.
right, all right,
Matthias Kuna, I think he's called.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, has he indicated he's going to U-turn? He's going to stay?
yeah, that's what we're waiting for. Um, I don't know if he's gonna stay.
No, you've just frozen, cuz.
Maybe a promotion, wouldn't he? Because Manchester United
Oh,
is
that's
looking to
better.
spend. Yeah, so Manchester United is looking to spend, aren't they? In
They are.
preparation for
Yeah,
Champions League. Now at his age, and we're not being ageist on this show, but I'm just thinking Champions League. Can we imagine Casemiro Champions League next season?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Do you know how old he is? I don't know.
I think it's about 35, I think, about that.
Is he? I can see him
Yeah.
there. Is when you get a player who's got the ability, that can often give him another 2 or 3 years at the top level anyway. And he is an excellent midfield player for Manchester United, possibly been their best after Bruno. I think Bruno Fernandes is a very much a world class player, but
Mm,
so is Casemiro. And I think that's partly why they've done as well as they have this season, because they've got those two players in their midfield. Yeah, I could certainly see him stay on for another season for the Champions League, and I bet their fans, I think he's quite popular. I bet they would want him to stay as well. So a U-turn could well be on the cards.
yeah. Okay. So Xavi is under consideration by Chelsea to be their next manager. Now we're not talking about Xavi Alonso. It's the other Xavi. Now I can't remember his last name.
Hmm.
Um, but I think he's a very good manager. I think he's managed Barcelona once. Xavi something. I can't remember. But anyway, what are we thinking about Chelsea? What's the
Yeah.
problem with Chelsea at the moment?
Well, there is a problem, isn't there? I mean, they were beaten. They were beaten at home by Nottingham Forest
Mm.
the weekend, 3-1, I think it was. Something has gone awry with them, hasn't it? And as I say, hang on, was it 3-1? Because that means Chelsea scored a goal. I said earlier that they hadn't scored in 6 games.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't think it was 3-1, but perhaps it was. Anyway, be that as it may, they've
Mm.
not been the force this season that certainly the second half of the season that they were tipped to be. Chelsea
Mm.
were really up there with the top six, and so on. Now, I'm not sure where they'll finish. It may not be far below that, or it may be about six, but
Mm.
something that they're not firing on all cylinders. And it's hard to know why. Obviously, they've sacked for a senior. That appointment struck me as a bit strange. I'm not saying that after the event with hindsight. I said at the time, or I felt at the time, it was a bit strange to bring in someone on a 6-year contract, which I know that's what Chelsea tend to do, but a 6-year contract for someone who's never managed in the Premier League. Obviously, Chelsea have this link with Strasbourg, which is where he was a
Mm.
manager before he came to Chelsea. But it's not gone well for him, really,
No.
from the off. It really hasn't. And of course, once again, they've had to sack a manager and pay him off. There are various stories about what he was paid, but it wouldn't have been a small amount, I'm sure. And so it goes on, and now that they need to appoint somebody new, so I don't know frankly, who would take a job there? I mean, people will because they want the job, and they probably know if they don't make a success of it, they'll get handsomely paid off anyway.
Mm.
So that you could make money to fail, which is what sometimes football managers do. But otherwise, it won't go too well on your CV if you go to Chelsea and you're sacked within a few months again. So I'm not sure who the manager you've mentioned is, but they've got to be a bit careful now. And I'm not sure that the owners are overly popular with the fans, probably for these reasons. I mean, I don't know
Mm.
what goes on at Chelsea, but it does strike me as odd that they just hire and fire so quickly, having given successive managers and frankly players these very long contracts. I think part of that may be to do with the PSR rules, the profitability sustainability rules, which means you can spread certain turnovers and expenditures over 6 or 7 years. And so I think it's not just complete madness to give someone a 6-year contract. There's a financial element to it, as I understand it. But no, it's a shame because Chelsea have not lived up to their billing really this season, or what we believe they can be. And I
Mm.
think there's one or two players who've wanted to leave. The manager, what was his name? Maresco, was it? He said enough to get him fired, and so on. So it's not a happy situation there in some ways, by the sound of it. They've got through to the cup final, the FA Cup final against Manchester City, and who knows? It could just be the sort of game that they win, given that most people will expect on form Manchester City to do it, but you never know. Hopefully, it'll be a good match to watch. But yeah,
Mm.
they're not the Chelsea we thought they would be this season.
Yeah, they're not, are they? And never have they been every other season. I've not, I
Mm,
don't, I can't remember the last season where we thought Chelsea was outstanding. Probably when
mm,
Mourinho was there, Well, after that, it just went downhill.
yeah,
But who knows? Now,
yeah,
Bernardo Silva, it says we'll definitely fight until the end for sure, like we always do.
mm,
Uh, if you ask me, I think it's definitely out of their hands now. Because they've 'cause, Arsenal has 5 points lead now. So even if
mm,
Manchester City wins their next game, they can only bridge it to 2 points lead.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But they would have
more,
played the same games, wouldn't they? I think then.
yeah, they would have played the same
Yeah,
games then.
yeah.
And if Arsenal wins the next two games, I think that's it. There's no way they can come back on that, can they? If I'm correctly, if I'm because there's only three games left to play now.
They played 35, although Man City have got one in hand,
Yeah,
haven't they? And that is
yeah,
the game against Crystal Palace next
yeah,
Wednesday. That's the game
yeah,
which at Manchester City, yeah, let's face it, the odds must be that Man City will win that game. So
yeah,
I think that then will bring it to within 2 points
yeah,
with three games to go on both sides. So
yeah,
totally in Arsenal's hands.
yeah.
But strange things happen. I mean, I
Oh,
think
that's true.
Didn't Jerome say earlier about West Ham? West Ham play Arsenal at the weekend, and
Yeah,
on paper you think, well, Arsenal, but West Ham aren't playing so well. They're in a
yeah,
bad position down there. But it's just a sort of game that could go against what everybody
yeah,
expects. West Ham will be fighting for their lives, and if Arsenal happen to have an off day or who knows what,
yeah.
it could rebound. I mean, my gut feeling is Arsenal will win that game and probably go on to win the league. So,
Mm.
I think that's the way it's going to be. But
Yeah.
you never know, and that's the great thing about, particularly this season in the Premier League. There's been a lot of potential events happening both
Mm.
ends of the table, and that, of course, makes it quite exciting.
I really want Arsenal to win. I just don't like Man City. Sorry. I just,
Yeah, I mean,
I just,
as you could argue that Manchester City have won so many things in the last few years,
yeah.
including what four championships, Premier League championships on the trot, and cups and so on. So it will make a change for another team to win some of the spoils, and Arsenal. I don't think anyone could really deny that they do deserve one of these
Mm.
serious cups like the Champions League or the Premier League because they've been there or thereabouts, and
Mm.
they haven't had the final push over the line. So, yeah, it'd be good for the club to actually win something. They've not won anything for a few years,
Yeah.
so I think this morning the photograph of Arteta in his press conference, I've never seen a grin so wide. You don't see him. After last night's win, he was just like a different face looking at you. Very, very, very satisfied with life. And why not? Why not? They're
Yeah.
in a good place at the moment. They're good.
Yeah. Yeah. And finally, Tottenham. They're out of
Well,
the relegation zone now. Um, can they breathe easy at this point?
well, it's very easy to think because they just got out of the zone
Mm.
that's how it's going to stay. Now, I can't. I should know, but I can't remember who Tottenham are playing this weekend. I know West Ham are playing Arsenal. We know that's probably the tougher of the two games. But
Mm.
yeah, I think if West Ham lose to Arsenal, I would think Spurs are going to be safe
Yeah.
because I think particularly if Spurs do well this weekend, as I say, I can't remember who they're playing, but
Mm.
the odds now are tilted, I think, a bit towards West Ham going down with Burnley and Wolves. But
Yeah.
probably we can't ultimately say that until the last match of
The
the
last,
season.
yeah,
But we'll
because
see. We'll see.
I was watching it and I'm thinking, 'cause I think they won their last match, didn't they, Tottenham?
Yeah,
And
they did. Yeah,
I was
they
quite
beat Villa,
relieved.
didn't they? They beat
Yeah,
Villa at Villa. Yeah,
I was quite relieved for
yeah.
them. I thought, yeah, finally. But I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking, they're still not out of the woods, out there, are they?
They're not. No,
Tottenham.
they're not.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. Neither of those two teams are out of it yet. I
No.
mean, frankly, if West Ham lose on Saturday, if it is Saturday, it's either Saturday or Sunday,
Mm.
to Arsenal, then I mean, for example, there are those who say, well, there's Palace on 43 points. Now, no team has ever gone down on that, on
Yeah.
43 points. And Leeds, I think Leeds have got 43 as well. But if West Ham lose to Arsenal, then both Palace and Leeds will be safe. I think Forest have They got probably about they might have 42 points now. I can't remember, but they those teams really are going to be safe, short of some arithmetic, sort of mathematical, unlikely events.
Mm.
People are safe. It's either Tottenham or West Ham. But if West Ham lose one more, I would think they've gone. That's my
Mm.
view.
Mm.
I can't see. I mean, Spurs have got that impetus from last weekend, and you feel they're going to be safe. We'll see. We'll see. We're not fortune tellers. We don't know, do we? But it's exciting right to the end of the season. Not so
It
much for
is.
those to the fans facing relegation. It's a horrible feeling. So I
Mm.
sympathise with any set of fans if they're finally relegated. But such is life in the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's exciting at the top and it's exciting at the bottom.
Yeah, at the
It's,
bottom. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
you know, I mean, last
Very good.
season, we knew Liverpool was winning it because they were way,
Yeah,
way, way ahead. But
yeah.
this season, we don't even know who's going to win it. Which is like, well, who's going to be relegated? Ipswich come up.
Ipswich
Um,
have come up along with Coventry. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
Coventry as well. Yeah. All right.
yeah. Coventry won it. And of course, the four teams in the playoffs
Yeah.
are Southampton, Middlesbrough, Millwall, and Hull. Now, my gut feeling is Southampton will do it. Will win the. They've had a pretty good season.
They
They got
have.
some good players down there in Southampton. So I have a feeling it will be them. But yeah, that's true. Coventry and Ipswich have done well. And I must put in a mention to Crystal Palace women because they started off the season, they were relegated last season into
Mm.
WSL2. Started off a bit iffy and lost a couple of games quite near the bottom. Then they changed their manager to a lady called Jo Potter, and they've risen up the table and have occupied third place for a while. Now the top two are going up because they're increasing the numbers in WSL1.
All right. Yeah.
So so Charlton and Birmingham have been top pretty much most of the season between them, and Palace have crept up to third. Well,
Mm.
they've had a real great run of wins. So last week, it finished, their season finished for the WSL2. That Palace finished second, so they're going back up straight away. Charlton third, Birmingham were top, so they're
Mm.
going up with Palace. Now coming down is the one team comes down, but they will have a playoff with the third team, Charlton, in the WSL2. Anyway, Palace women have got promoted, so that's excellent.
Yeah. I can't remember which one that I watched at the weekend, but I did watch a game with Arsenal and a French team. And it was the UEFA um champions.
It was the
Uh
Champions League, wasn't it? Yeah,
champions.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
Arsenal got knocked out in the second leg, so I wasn't happy about that because they won the first leg and then they lost the second leg.
That's a
But anyway,
shame.
it is a shame. We want the English teams to dominate, don't we? Anyway, this is all we've got time for on the football referee. So you're gonna have to join us again next week. So I've been Emmy Hickins, and he calls me Cos.
And I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv.
Ah, got it right this time. It's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me too.
Oh dear
See you
me.
next week.
Uh, wow, it
Uh,
has been a marathon, wasn't it?
A
But
long
God,
set. Well, the extra bit at the front was significant, wasn't it?
it
I
was.
will send you those login details and the other things we
Yeah,
agreed. So
yeah,
we'll take
yeah,
it from there.
yeah.
Good
So
stuff.
just one thing about the login details when you send
Yeah.
it, just log in first,
Yeah.
and then because when you log in, then I can because you saw what happened with mine when I tried to log in, he
Yeah.
sent me a code. So if you're able to
Right.
log in first and then change the
Yeah.
password, and then I can be confident I can log in from my end. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to log in, it's gonna send you a code, and then
Yeah.
it's longer. Yeah. So that's just it.
Okay. So I would send you when I've logged in and done what I've got to do.
Yeah.
to get to amend the user to give you more permission. I then send you. Well, what do you need
Oh,
then?
no, no,
You
no,
would need
no, no, no,
my
you don't send
login
me any.
details.
Yeah. Yeah. So you send me the login details from for PRS for music. It will send me a link. So once you put
Yeah.
my email address there, it will send me a link. So you don't need to send me
Right.
anything PRS for
Oh,
music.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but PPL, you need to log in first and then because it might ask you to change the password or anything. And then when
Yeah.
you've done that, that's when you can send it to me. But for
But
PRS for music,
yeah,
it's straightforward.
PRS. I'm PRS. I'm actually amending the contacts and users, aren't I?
That's it. Yeah.
I'm
So
adding a new user,
you just add in a new user and then you add
and then
you
you'll get an email or something.
yeah. So you're adding the privileges that you give this new user. And then we can be able to do the work from our end.
But I'm giving you my login details for PPL.
Or PPL, only
Yeah.
PPL,
Yeah.
not PRS for
Brilliant.
music. Yeah, only
No.
PPL. Yeah, yeah, not
Okay.
PRS for PPL.
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
buddy. Good to see you.
All right, good to see you, my brother.
See you next
All
week.
right, see you next week. Yeah. All
Take
right,
care.
bye.